Hello and welcome everyone in the webinar meeting on PhD in USA and Future Avenues. Today, we have our keynote speaker, Dr. Ranjana Sharma with us. We will start this in different phases. First, Dr. Ranjana will tell us the importance of why the aspirants, when they want to go out, what are they expect and what they should be prepared for. A brief about our keynote speaker today. Dr. Ranjana Sharma has received her PhD in biochemistry from Thermal Biology Institute of Montana State University. Then, before moving to Montana, she was at Hughes Institute Research at Penn State University with the fellowship of Hughes Institute of Life Sciences. Her interest in bioinformatics then shifted to structural biology at Montana State University. Her research has led on structural biology, and she honed her skills in both X-ray crystallography and small angle X-rays during her PhD and postdoctoral training. She has worked at University of Florida as a researcher, where she studied Streptococcus pneumoniae using small angle X-ray scattering to develop better vaccine candidates. Dr. Sharma has worked on several synchrotron facilities in US and European Union, namely SLAC, Stanford at USA, and ESR, Grenoble, France, Petra, Hamburg, Germany. They are just named a few. She has published with authorship on Nature and has given several talks at international meetings. After spending 8 years in research in US and Europe, Dr. Sharma moved back to India in 2013 with the aim of fostering biomedical science in her home country. From 2013 till recently, she held several key positions with the funding agency DBT Wellcome Trust, India Alliance. Most of the students might not be aware of this, or some of you are well acquainted with this. She worked as a grant advisor and routinely advised applicants and awardees how to handle the grants and the related queries and management on scientific application on research proposals. She also has engaged with student community in her role as science communicator mentor. Dr. Sharma brought her vast experience garnered from having worked with many research environments. She's also a mental health champion and brings her training in prevention of sexual harassment to the lectures on ethics in research. Dr. Sharma is currently program manager at newly established Center for Brain and Mind at NCVS Bengaluru. With this brief introduction, I would like to welcome Dr. Sharma at the platform and deliver the keynote speech. Dr. Sharma, up to you.
Thank you, Raja. Thank you so much for this introduction. And now let me share my screen and I will get started. Slideshow. Yes. Hello, dear aspirants, prospective students for PhD, those who are in PhD, those who are considering it. To all of you, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I will try and put some perspective on this thing that we are always so admiring about. There are other panelists who will give you more details, who are actually currently based in the US. I'm sorry about the noise. What I will do is I will give you more of a perspective of someone who has moved from India to the US and has moved back. So some of the things that I found challenging and we talked about in our, I have to point out to you that as my career was just described to you, it has been a few years since I have done PhD. A lot of things in the US, a lot of things in the world has changed, especially post-pandemic. So if any of the stuff that I talk about does not seem relevant, does not hold water, you're free to discard the suggestion. So what to expect and what not to expect from a PhD in the US? I believe there is a pre-admission phase, which is a large phase. Some people start aspiring to do a PhD right from 8th standard onwards. Some get into the mode when they join their bachelor's degree. And some do it as late as after completion and taking a year break. So it is a matter of the question that is to be a real question is PhD for me? Now, this question is a difficult question to answer because we don't know what exactly it is about PhD that is for me or not for me. If you are curious and you have a tendency to ask questions and you are always the student in class who wants to know more than what is there on the syllabus, maybe it is for you. However, it is important to talk to people who have gone through the journey to really understand what it is about. You know, the completed picture always looks far better than when it is under construction. So this question can be answered from many different angles. One, PhD is a long process. Is it for me? It is a lifelong journey of learning. Is it for me? Do I care about making money? Do I want a fat salary? So these are questions one has to ask oneself before jumping headlong, because a PhD is like well, it never goes away. It's like it's a transformative, completely transformative experience. You will never be the same person again. So once you have decided that whether PhD is for you, ask yourself, is USA the desired destination? I know here we are talking about primarily USA as the destination for PhD. However, things have changed a lot, like I said, and the world is no more the same. Even Czechoslovakia offers a lot of PhD, and funding in certain countries have improved, which was not available back when we were doing PhD. Me, my batch, and all that. So once you have decided that yes, PhD is for me, you ask yourself if USA is the desired destination. And if it is the desired destination, I can assure you there is tons of information available online, career fairs, you name it, internet is complete. Most of the information that you do get is actually for application to the US. So that will never be a problem to understand what all you have to do. The statement of purpose, the letter of recommendation, these are standard. It's if you decide that it's not USA, but some European country like Norway. Norway offers very good scholarships. Then you have to actually find out the particular process of it. Those are very different. With US, internet is your best source. There are lots of career counselors and student guides right now. And it's good to approach them to get a first round of information. But then again, in my experience, some of the best people are your alumni. Considering that your college alumni have gone on to do PhDs. Otherwise, there are career fairs where you can get information. You have to start looking up Are there career fairs in your city or some adjacent city that you can go down to? Lots of private universities these days actually have MOUs with universities abroad. And it's not just private universities. Many of the government universities have these understandings. For example, BHU has one with Monash in Australia. That's just something I know. And if you have a pipeline like that, which you can make use of, then it's important to use it. But you will not be able to use such pipelines unless you know. So it's important to find out the resources and the offices, the research offices that are available at your universities. These are being set up slowly. If you're already in the US and you're looking to do a PhD after your master's, there again, the best place to find out details about this is your international office, because they will give you the best kind of idea as to the kind of requirements that are there. I will touch upon it on the post-admission, but here I'm still talking to the people who are in India and deciding on doing a PhD. Now, some fortunate people have extended family in the US, and they can also help find out current details, because there are certain small colleges or city colleges or community colleges that are also available for doing PhD degrees. It doesn't always have to be a Harvard or a Yale. Because when it comes to employability, these are not the only criteria that matter. It matters maybe in India, but not in the US. And most of all, immigration rules change, immigration fees change, the admission fees change, the course fees change. So it is important for one to consider these things when deciding on the kind of PhD that one wants to do. The country, the organization, the department, the subject. So supposing you have done all of it and you've gotten it. Now, when I say post-admission, I'm not talking about post-admission while in India, because the usual thing to take care of is like, you're very happy, everyone is very happy, yes, and you have to just get the visa things done. And if you get the visa thing done, then it's done. If it doesn't get done, then all of the process is lost. That we know. I'm going to talk more on, you've got the visa, and just when you think things are going to get very simple is when the actual climb or the trek starts. Now, once you land into the US, you could be landing on any part of, now, usually when Indians think of US, they think of the locations that are used in the movies, but there are lots of kinds of places. I mean, US should be a subcontinent because there is just a gazillion amount of options and huge landmass. Not all the places are very nice, and not all the places are very friendly. So one must have a clarity of the structure of the program. So like, did you get into the graduate program? Did you get into a fellowship program? Because the requirements and the allowances matter. Usually, as a student who is seeking admission, these nitty-gritty details are not something that we look at. For example, I got into the Hux Fellowship, but I did not know that in the Hux Fellowship, I got into bioengineering. And in the bioengineering, mathematics is mandatory. I did not know that. I had to go through a process of trying to change the major just so that I don't have to take mathematics. Because we are so excited about getting the fellowship and making it through that. And all of us are brought up this way in Indian homes. Most Indian homes are like that. Beta, you just have to study this. No matter what subject is thrown at you, you study it. But in the US, it is not required like that. One, it is not required. Two, you might not be able to pull it off because the graduate level courses just touch upon something much, much higher than what we are used to even in our master's courses. Just a small tidbit to throw this in. If you have a 4-year bachelor degree, that is 16 years of education, you do not need a master's before you transition to a PhD in the US. And that is because even if you do get a master's, the PhD program is designed in such a way that you have to go through the coursework for master's all over again. This is just for people who are considering after BTech or BE. Just keep this idea with you. Like I was pointing out, when you have a problem with the structure of the program like this, and you want to, evaluate your options, there are 2 places that will actually help you, and it is not your PI. The last person you want to go and crib to about, not being able to do or being able to pull through is your PI. So either actually go to the international office. They are usually very sympathetic to international student needs. And it is important to build strong ties. It's actually what helped me with my career choice, because a lot of what I do or did at my grants office is what the international office does. It tells you your options, funding options. Supposing you flunked the program, what is your other option? How can you keep your visa? These are things you have to know. Suddenly, you are an adult. See, it's like all our lives, we crib that our parents don't let us be adults and are interfering all the time. You go to the US and you're an immediate adult. Nobody will do anything for you there. They will give you all the information. So make sure that you get the right information from the right set of people. The other set which will give you a lot of help are the secretaries of the program or the department that you are in. We don't usually look at them with a lot of, and that's understandable, because in India, admin staff is not usually helpful. They are the ones who usually delay things, they are rude, and they never treat students nicely. But that is in India. In the US, it's actually a very different work culture. Secretaries play a very important role. They actually play decisive roles in some places, including admission slots. So make sure that you get, and again, most departments will have secretaries that are extra caring for international students, because international students are in general bechara. I mean, especially Indians. So try building these. You will have gastronomic concerns. And I don't mean about, stomach loose or whatever, but finding the right blend of food to eat. I mean, everybody, when they think of love, they think of their grandmother and her amazing kitchen. It's normal. We relate everything with food. So this in general is a big crib point in the beginning, till you get accustomed to the kitchen, the different taste of the food or the lack of taste in the food. And the other thing that you have to be very careful about is how to dress for the weather, because it makes a lot of difference to the comfort. US is where I first learned to talk about the weather all the time. Elevator talk is about the weather, because you have to dress for the weather, and you will realize very soon that if you're not dressed correctly, it can get a very uncomfortable day. If you're an uncomfortable day, you're uncomfortable in class, you'll not be able to concentrate, you'll not be able to do your research experiments, you'll not be able to pull an all-nighter. So these are soft skills, these are not technical hard skills. No counselor is going to tell you like, oh, but it makes a ton of difference to get the right kachori. It's like you go to New Jersey, you go to that, you have the right chat, and suddenly life feels amazing. And it happens. I mean, you do that. So make sure and talk to the Americans around you. They're generally friendly. They'll tell you what kind of weather to anticipate. You have to learn to do that small chit chat, that small talk, which Indians are terrible at. We don't make eye contact. When we are in an elevator, we look all the other places. Americans are the absolute opposite. They will come in, they will smile, and they will start a conversation. And that's how friendships develop. And that's how you're going to break ice. And it's a skill that is good for you to learn. That's all right. But what if you're in a lab full of Asians, which is very possible, considering that there are very high achievers in this group of students I'm addressing, and many of them want to go to labs which are so high-end that Americans don't go. In that case, I really have very almost non-existent information. I mean, Asians can be very friendly. And when I say Asians, I mean Koreans and Japanese and Chinese, not Indians. Of course, you won't have a problem if there are Indians, but do go around the other labs and see if you could find, or just go back to the secretary and get the information. And I want to end my thing by saying that, remember that not all that glitters is gold. A lot of things are good about the US, but not everything. And case in example is the medical insurance. If you get it through the university, well and good. If you don't, then, well, don't get into any serious medical condition. We all think that it will never happen till it happens. Well, I think that's all I have. I don't want to press negatives and I do not want to discourage. Just make sure that your knowledge bank is sufficiently large. And with that, I will end. And I don't know, take questions. Raja, are we taking questions now or later?
We have questions.
Okay.
Almost one. And now I would like to, so now I will open this for our question answer. And I would like to introduce our panelists. So we have 3 panelists for today. Dr. Khushbu and okay. So 2 of them are the PhD students, and we would like to mention a brief introduction about them. First, Dr. Bhaswati. Dr. Bhaswati is currently a research fellow in Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. She has obtained her PhD from University of Kansas Medical Center, and she is by training a developmental biologist, have worked with mouse models for placentation. She has mouse neural tube closures. She is an advocate of postdoctoral researcher rights and is the chair of International Committee of MSK Postdoctoral Association. Presently at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, New York in USA. A brief about, if you can say hi, just Bhaswati, so that people know. And then now, second is Khushbu. Khushbu is a final year PhD candidate in genetics and genomics interdisciplinary program at Department of Soil and Crop Sciences at Texas A&M in College Station. Her research is focused on developing high lysine rice, aiming to address global malnutrition problems. She recently was awarded a Gerald O. Mott Meritorious Graduate Student Award in Crop Sciences, as well as Bayer Encompass Fellow by the Crop Science Society of America. Prior joining Texas A&M as a PhD student, She completed her master's in crop sciences and biotechnology from your National University, Korea, and BTech in bioinformatics from Tamil Nadu Agriculture University in India. Our another panelist today is Ankit Sharma. Ankit is currently pursuing PhD at Texas A&M, and he is doing in Department of Cell Biology and Genetics and studying twine arginine translocation system. Before joining as a PhD student, he was integrated masters in biotechnology from Vellore Institute of Technology, VIT Vellore in India, and also worked at IIT Summer Fellow. So with this brief introduction about our three more panelists, I will open this webinar meeting for the questions, and I have compiled questions which our aspirants were keen to ask. So the first question which we'll start, so we will go incrementally, and we see Ankit as the most, recent addition to the PhD student candidate list. So the first question is towards Ankit. Ankit, most of us in this meeting, they want to know that how to start the procedure in the first place. If you can walk all of us.
Yeah, so there are a lot of things involved when you're actually selecting the university that you want to apply to. So the first thing definitely would be, first understand what you want to work on during your PhD, like identify the research interests. It can be broad, but still you need to kind of understand what you're interested in, and more importantly, what you're not interested in doing. And once you kind of identify that, you'll know which departments to look at when you're browsing at different universities. And you can also get an idea when you're Googling online as to what universities are actually good for your intended program of study or research of study. And the other factor that comes into play, or at least up until a few years ago, was the GRE scores, because most of the programs here were looking at GRE scores. So depending on the kind of score that you got, you again would have, you would realign the kind of universities that you looked at. But again, I want to reiterate that a lot of programs here have stopped looking at GRE scores. Few of them still do. So it's about the research that you do when you're going through the page that you need to look at, whether they're accepting the GRE scores or not. So these two things do play a major role. One is the research that you want to do, the universities that are good for that kind of research. And the second one is whether GRE scores are being accepted. And if you have already taken a GRE test, then you'll know the kind of universities that you can apply to. And the third one, if you already have like alumni in that specific university, or you have already somehow established contacts with professors in a specific university, then you would of course want to apply to that university, because you have some kind of information at hand, which will kind of help you with the process. So these are like the different variables that you need to kind of account for when you're applying to different places. And I think the fourth one, sorry, just one more, which is the economics bit of it. You also want to look at if, a specific department or university is giving you stipend, and if that is enough for you to sustain life at that particular city, because it is kind of expensive when you go towards, the coastal sides, and there are cities with very high cost of living. So even economics come into play. And, if you want to have a good comfort living during your PhD, then you should also consider the finance part of it.
Yeah, thank you, Kit. And now my next question on, and it is mostly compiled from all of the interested students. And one thing which comes very, often is about the fellowship part of it. So Khushbu, if you can take this question, that people are asking about the funding opportunities which are available in here, what they can, how they can prepare for it, or if it is not from the institute, then are there any opportunities that they can take fellowship from India, or how to do that?
So when it comes to the fellowships, there are some fellowships and scholarships offered by the Indian government also, but then you have to apply for it and get admitted. I remember when I was in India and I was applying, there are some fellowships to go to Europe and some to come to US, but then because of the competition, the numbers are very less. So it's only very few students would get the scholarships. So if you are coming to US, the best way is you get fundings prior, or if you do not get fundings, once you come here, you can look for on-job positions like within the campus jobs to secure fundings. But if you come as a PhD student here, majority of your fundings are covered by your labs because you are working on a project. So you get an assistantship to work. And let's say you come to a lab where your PI does not have the funds to support you as a graduate student, then there are other options. You can work as a teaching assistant, you can work as a grader. You do have options to get your funding secured here. When it comes to fellowship as an international student in the States, the opportunities are very less because you are international and majority of these fundings are for the US citizens here. So when you apply for the university, you have to check with your graduate school as to what kind of fundings they are available. There are 3 or 4 at least fundings available, which as an international and specifically as an Indian, you qualify for. So you would have to check with every university, whichever you are interested in with their grad schools, if they have anything. As well as the second thing you can do is the department you are interested in. I'm in soil and crop sciences, I'm in plant sciences. So every department also has specific funding. So you would have to check for it. If you are an engineering student, it is an entirely different situation. I'm very less aware about how the engineering funding side goes with. But with plant sciences, your department also has some funding or some ways to help you out.
Great. So Dr. Ranjana has raised the hand. If you have anything to say, Dr. Ranjana?
Yeah, to add to Khushbu's list, as you have it in department and in universities, you also have specific states. There are certain states which get more funding. And like Ankit was also mentioning, so there are certain which are backward states, they get more funding for. So if you look at those, they have special fellowships. But you have to find out those states, which are they currently demographically.
Great. So my next question will be towards Bhaswati Bhattacharya. And the question is about writing the emails to the PIs, approaching them directly. If you can start with that.
Yes. So hi, everyone. A very important part of your PhD search will be to write emails to PIs whose work you actually like. And by like, I mean, please, please, please don't write general emails like, I love your research, I follow your work. Don't. That's a strict no. You can write that as a first sentence, but make sure that you at least did your homework. So read, maybe give it a read, like give their last paper maybe that was published from their lab. At least read the abstract of it and mention a few lines maybe on that, so that you can actually show them that you actually like their work, you read at least some of their articles. And maybe you can ask a novice question in the email, which, I mean, it doesn't hurt, but if you add that question, it might not be what they are interested in or what their lab is pursuing. But if you add that point, it shows that you are actually thinking about their work. You are interested to work with them. So always make it a point. Don't copy paste your emails and send to 1,000 people. It doesn't help. Write emails to at least 10 of them, but please make sure that you are writing very specific emails tailored to that particular PI. And you never know, if a PI likes your email, then he or she can advocate you during the meeting when the graduate committee meets and they select candidates for that program. So make sure you are at least doing your homework diligently and writing very specific emails rather than just generalized writing that, okay, I love your work, I want to work with you. That doesn't make sense. Please don't do that. Yeah. That's my advice about emails.
And now I will just put up this one thing. Yes, Khushbu, please add. Yeah.
I have one thing to add. So when you email your professors, okay, in US, you can say their doctor and their last name. If you do not know if they are male or female, please make sure that you Google them and you search them. Because when you make this small mistake of designating a female professor as a male professor and vice versa, because you are copying 100 emails, trust me, you will not find any reply. If you still have hard time, you do not have good internet access, just say dear professor, because that is a unisexual and it does not tell if it's a male or a female. Second thing to add to this, only professor in US can give you admission. The PhD students do not have any positions under them to give you. So you can approach PhD students as to ask about the lab. But if you ask the PhD students, do we have any positions under us? Unfortunately, we are also students. We do not have the capacity. So make sure you do your homework, because when you do not do your homework and you send the emails, it really gives a bad impression for you. So do not do this. I have experienced this, and that's why I'm telling you, I get these emails. So do not do this kinds of mistake, please.
So I would like to, this is the serious thing. We are getting into step by step. So let's just take a minute, and not a minute actually. See, all of you who are the aspirants really want or interested in this. Everyone is like, study in hometown, no. Study abroad, yes. And that's why we are having this meeting in the first place, where the name itself is PhD in USA. There are things which you are excited about. There are things which you really want to do. But one thing, as all of the panelists has added, is the seriousness, that how serious you are about it. If you don't know the gender of your professor, you cannot get away with the email part, yes. If you don't know their research, you should not be even writing those emails. Because in first place, you want to go to that lab to pursue the research. Exploring USA is a separate part, okay? It is not involved in your application process that you want to go to Statue of Liberty, okay? Yes, once you are here, you might end up visiting those places. But when you are writing your emails, you should be very, very clear about the lab, your interest, because what generally has been seen, and I would like to ask this to Ankit. So Ankit, people are asking about the application process. So we just touched upon that, writing the emails directly to the professors. If you can just tell that how the application process generally goes in universities at USA, and what are the things they should always keep an eye on?
So, like based on what I've seen, there are two different ways in which admissions can happen. One is you mail a prof, the prof is interested in taking you, and then he directly asks the admission committee to get you in here as a PhD student. The second one is you apply to a common PhD admissions program, and then they hold interviews and they select candidates later on. So there are like different things that happen in both these things. So when you're writing an email, that's why it becomes very important to making sure that you're writing it properly, and then you're connecting with the professor, because if he has power to take you in as a PhD student, then you have a better chance right there. And sometimes what happens is, even if you're applying to a common admissions program, if the professor likes you, he can always kind of tell the admissions committee to kind of pay more attention to you or things like that. So it's very important when you're trying to email professors. And coming to the common admissions program that I was talking about, so I got into here from a common admissions program. So there what happens is, there is a common application that you need to fill. describing your prior experience, like a cover letter. You need to give your SOP, upload your CV, and also you need to write the 3 faculty that you're interested in, or 5, depending on the university that you're interested to work with. And it's always better if you have reached out to that professor asking if he's taking in PhD students in that academic year. Because if the answer is no, and you haven't done your homework, then like straight off the bat, like you lose like professors on that list because they're not really taking in any taking in any students for that academic year. So once you get in a common admissions program, you then have the opportunity in most of the places to rotate at different labs. So you can kind of make a decision as to which lab you want to do your PhD in. So again, this is not, I guess, common to all PhD programs, but a lot of universities and programs have this option wherein you can rotate in different labs before choosing the lab that you want to work in. So these are the 2 major models that at least I have seen in the US. So
Thanks, Ankit. Yeah, Dr. Ranjana, you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to add that when you're going through this process, please don't think that you're all alone and you have to do all of this and remember everything on your own. You must have a support group, which is your faculty, your alumni. It has already been pointed out that, reach out to alumni if it's there in your university. Maybe inquire that maybe there's a faculty who has studied abroad and then joined, and that person can have a look at the emails. Extra, please, sir, something, like things like that. These are important because when you enter the PhD program in the US, being able to ask for help like that is going to be the make or break thing for you. Because it's not just about getting in, right? You do all this effort, you need to be. So start practicing these things right at the application stage.
I have one thing to add in the application process. So if you are applying to certain university, every program has a different deadlines, and deadlines are very stringent. So if they say the end of the day, that means if you go and submit at 12 o'clock midnight, your application will not be accepted. So you have to be very careful about the application deadlines. Check, make sure the programs you are interested in the degrees which you wish to pursue, what is their deadlines? Even same universities, different programs will have different deadlines. You have to make sure, write them and follow the guidelines. They would have everything, and there will be academic advisors in that particular program. You can approach them and ask them if you have any concern regarding the application process. Because every program, every department have international students also. So they know the ins and out to help you and answer your particular question. If they are not able to help you, reach out to other students also in the university. You have the resources of LinkedIn, you have Twitter, you have Facebook, every resource possible. Connect. If you message 100 people, at least 10 will reply you. So do the homework, do your work. There'll be someone to, as per their availability of the time, everybody is ready to help you, because what struggles we have gone through, we don't want you to go through that same struggles. And that's why we are having this webinar. So ask, someone will help you. Do not make common mistakes what nobody told us when we were applying at those times.
Yes. So this brings us to the next phase of our conversation here. And I would like to again start with this one. So all of you might be, planning to study abroad next year. But when you realize that people have already started their process, this is one thing which, again, all of these things shows that how serious you are about it. If you are not yet finalized a lab you are interested in, a university, or in a bigger picture you want to go to in, if you're not sure about it, you should not start the process. That is the first thing. But once you have made up your mind that you really are interested in a research of a specific professor, now with this information, what you already got here. And in Google, there is so many things. But the reason why we are posting this here is then when you meet real people sharing their experiences, what is happening here. Khushbu mentioned her, all the, all these enlightenment can only help you to the point if you can take it to the next level. And now the next level is writing your SOPs, okay, and the cover letters, because this is the second step. Once you said, okay, now I'm interested in this lab, I have written to the lab, and now I'm at the application process. And in the application process, either even directly professor is taking you, as Ankit mentioned, or it is going through a common admission test through university. Cover letters and your SOPs are the two documents which gives face to you. The Zoom interview might come, later on, but these two documents says that what you are. And if we can ask Dr. Bhaswati about it, that how they should write, because most of the questions were either about the eligibility and application, and the third most was like how to write those SOPs and cover letters.
Okay, so writing an SOP is hard. Let us accept that fact. So I would suggest you can write a little bit of story and make it coherent in your SOP. And so there are different documents. SOP is not your research statement. So some universities also require a separate research statement where you can actually mention what research work you did post your master's or during your master's curriculum, if it's thesis based. So you need to write in details like what exact research questions you were asking and what experiments you did, maybe a brief overview of your research project. But again, in SOP, you can write your willingness to do a PhD. It should show that you are willing and you are interested in coming to a university to get PhD degree, and why is it worth it, or why do you want to come to the US, or why this university in particular. Like you can have paragraphs starting, maybe in the first paragraph you can have a story about why you want to get your PhD. Maybe in the second paragraph you can mention like how about this specific university, like say University of Massachusetts, why do you want to apply to this school, why do you want to apply to this program. Maybe there you can mention that I have seen the research, I have read about the research of so and so professor, and I have had a conversation with him if he replied to your emails. And there was one question in the chat which asked like, if you don't get reply, should you still apply to that program? Yes, definitely you should. Like it doesn't, the professors are very busy. They don't always read emails, even if you have written a very good email with details of, after reading his research, you get those emails. So don't get frustrated with that. Do apply to that program if you are really interested and you think that you are competitive enough to get into that program. So yes, you can have paragraphs like this. You can write, you can narrow it down. Like first you can start why you want to get a PhD. In the second para, you can write why this university. In the third para, you can mention a couple of PI's name, like why you are interested in their research. So you can categorize it like this in SOP. And regarding the cover letter, right? So cover letter is something which should be, I think it should be addressed to the professor to whom you are applying. And in the cover letter, what I did, and I can say from my experience, I wrote a little bit of bio about me in the first para, that I am doing my master's degree from so-and-so university. If you are doing a thesis-based master's, that's very, very good. You should mention that. If you have a publication, many people were asking, like, if I have a publication, is that a criteria? If you have a publication, you should mention it. Maybe give a link, PubMed link there, like you can read my paper, this is on bioRxiv, or this is on PubMed, and you can read it and let me know if you have any questions. So you can write like that. And then in the second para, you can mention about his work, like to the professor you are writing. Maybe write I am interested, I was reading up this paper of yours, mention that paper. And in this paper, you did a work on this protein X. How does protein X function? Or maybe a very novice question, but it shows that you actually read that paper. You actually are citing examples. So citing examples is very important, and being specific is very important rather than generalized email or generalized SOP. So maybe others can also add to it, because I applied like long time back. Things might have changed, like the format that they want have changed. And also I talked to some of my lab mates who are research technicians who are applying this year. Some of them said that some of the university also needs a diversity statement. So that is very key. And some universities are promoting diversity nowadays. So you have to be very specific on how you are trying to advocate for diversity. By diversity, I mean like, mixing and knowing other cultures, interacting with people of other cultures. It should not be that important for international students, because you are already coming from a specific country. I think it is more specific for US citizens or people who are applying from the US, because they are trying to promote diversity in US right now. But that statement can be also a little bit tricky. You have to really mention activities where you have enjoyed interacting with other cultures. Like if you have been to an event where there were people from other countries or other states. In India, I mean, it's the most diverse country in the world. You can write like, I have interacted with so many people from different backgrounds, different religious backgrounds, or different scientific backgrounds, and that has really helped me. Or you can mention these key points that might help, because diversity statement can be a little bit tricky when it comes to applying from India, basically, because we don't get to interact with a lot of international people in our country. So that might be a little bit tricky, but I think it's not mandatory for all universities. That is also true. So yeah, maybe the others can add to it.
Okay, I just want to add that after having put in all that effort, we have a tendency of writing the subject line, "Hi, hello, Professor so-and-so." I want to stress that when you have something like that, most servers will put that into spam. So the question that, it's cold email, they don't respond. It's not that they're not responding. It's that they don't see it. So while you're writing your statement of purpose, while you're writing your email to the person, and you're try to pick out a very important line that can go as your signature line on the subject, that says that you're a prospective student from such and such university, interested in this part of the lab or something. It's a little long, but it does the job. So just like it's important the way you address the professor, it's also important that what subject line you use. And that's not anymore just limited to the US. You will need this forever throughout your career, having correct subject lines to ensure things don't end up. The more the data encryption goes, encryption improves, more the servers get picky about, certain words. So make sure that your subject line is as composed as the rest of your application body.
Yes, Kushbu.
So for the SOP, like Bhaswati mentioned, the SOP should also have something as to why you are interested. What made you choose to come to a graduate school? This is something what they look for. So don't write something like, oh, it was just an wish for me. I just love doing science, or I'm interested in. This is not why you are doing your PhD or your grad school. Something motivated you, something made you come to this field, and you have a commitment. That's why you are coming for a graduate school. What was that? Was it your family situation? Was it something you got impressed working with someone? There should be some reason which motivated you. SOP includes that also. So make sure you add that. So if you Google it, there is a particular format as to which paragraph needs to be added, what information needs to be added. Use the online resources, but find something what triggered you to come to the grad school. It cannot be simply like, oh, I am interested and I want to explore US. This is not a reason to come to grad school. The other thing, what Ranjana mentioned about the subject line, which is important. One thing I need to specify is your SOP only goes in your application. So you do not send your SOP to your professor. Your CV, your resume, and your cover letter is what you send to your professor, because you are asking them that I am interested in your work. So you write a small email describing as to why you are interested. You send your CV or resume, whichever you prefer, and a cover letter. Your SOP, research statement, diversity statement are a part of your application process to the university. So there was a question in the chat as to if I have an acceptance from the professor. So what do I do? Do I have to still do the application? Yes. Professor acceptance is just one check mark in your application process. Yes, there is somebody in the university who has seen your profile and thinks that you are a suitable person for their lab. But you still have to go through the application process with the university to get an admission, because university is what keeps your documents and have you in a place. Lab is just for you to work. So you need to have everything done for you.
Yes, that's what we want to add.
I want to add a quick point, like, please do not procrastinate writing your SOP. Don't keep it till the last week or the last day. Write it from before so that it takes time to get your thoughts together, like to write a coherent SOP. And also an important thing is make somebody else read it. Like maybe you are writing something, you feel, oh, I have written such a great essay, I will be selected, I will definitely make an impression to the committee. No, you should make somebody read it, especially someone who is already here, who already went through that same process, who knows a little bit about writing SOP. Maybe if you have friends or seniors in your university who has already applied and got through a position here in a graduate school, send them, email them and ask them for a very clear feedback, like an honest feedback on how you are doing, how your SOP sounds to them, and take their feedback very seriously and make changes, and then again get back to them. If they have time, they can read. And also you can send your SOP to some professors in your lab, in your current institution also. Maybe if they have time, they can give it a read, because it comes from different age. I have seen, like, with age, people have different thoughts, they have different level of maturity, and once they read it, they know, like, okay, this sounds to be a very novice one, or maybe this sounds exactly how you should write it. You will get that honest feedback, so you can send it to different people to get their perspective about your writing. So that is very important. Please make sure that you have somebody else read your SOP before you actually send them out, and please don't keep it for the last week or the last day of your deadline. So that is very important, because it shows when you have put in enough time or you didn't.
Absolutely. And let's hear what Ankit has to say for the same.
I just had a quick point. Make sure you use the free tools available at your disposal. Like Grammarly is something that I would recommend to make sure that your English is, it's right up to the point, and then the punctuations are good. Since we are like not native English speakers, it really helps to clean up your English and then your sentence structure. So use the tools, and I'm sure there are others available online. So just make use of them.
Yeah. And yes, Khushbu.
Just to add with that one thing, like the online resources, there is ChatGPT and other resources also to help you write. You can use them to help you get some ideas, but do not copy as such, because once the application comes to the systems here, in US, copying is a very serious offense. So do not copy. If you are copying from an AI bot, there is a software in the university which can put you under the red list, or they can flag your application that it has been copied from the AI bots. Do not do that. If you have worked so much, try to write your own. You can use the hints. Absolutely. Those AI bots and everything are there to help you. Just do not copy, and do not make your application flagged, because then your application will not go through anywhere.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to all the viewers here, this was the ice-breaking session for getting PhD into USA. Every single point, starting from SOP to cover letter, the application process, we will be hosting the subsequent meetings on a monthly basis, which you can all join. Okay. For today's meeting, we just are about to touch our final minute, and keeping the seriousness of the time for everyone, which I believe now the serious word comes so many times that all the viewers should be more serious about their applications, about their dreams to pursue PhD in USA. And I would like to start saying thanks to Dr. Ranjana. Dr. Ranjana gave us the keynote speech, a perfect overview. I cannot ask anything more than that. I see your raised hand, so I'll give it to you for now.
So I have a tendency of making things, serious things into slightly comical. So I'm just going to kind of do a finale as like, we have talked a lot about, and all of us have given you very serious things, and you should do this, use ChatGPT, all of that. And I'm pretty sure everyone has taken all the ideas very seriously. I will just say that don't forget to watch Netflix and the English movies on Amazon Prime. The best way to prepare for TOEFL, watch American movies. And that's how you get the correct accent when you have to actually teach in the university. Surprise, surprise, but sometimes some of the most, different methodology works the best. So go watch some movies, do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just for this, I would like to just share this one, that this is a thing which happens, I think, with all of us. Students get in here, they are in USA, okay, after getting the admission in the top abroad university. Alexa, now please play Tum Mile Dil Khile, or Jino Kya Chahiye. And this is with all the seriousness. Yes, when you are here, you should not, forget about India. Obviously, you are here to pursue the research, keeping all your cultural heritage, all the taste buds, the same you want. But this conversation was only about getting PhD in USA. Now, moving on to the thanks to Bhaswati, who already have completed the PhD, shared her experience with you all. Thank you, Bhaswati. Ankit and Khushbu, they are doing their PhD. Soon they'll be the doctors also. And probably few of you, or I wish all of you, the people who want to get PhD into USA, can be our next speakers in this platform. And the help you got from all of them, now it is your responsibility to give it to the next batch. And that's how the circle goes on. Either it is research or it is life. We always see this is all, so last question, realistic expectation and limitation should be considered while pursuing PhD in USA. Last point, PhD in USA and India are different. Yes, there are so many different levels where they are different. In India, we don't have committees. In here, we have a lot of them, like not that serious, because in India, it is taken granted that once you register, you will get it, either in 3 or 4 or 5. Here, you actually can fail the qualifier exams, and that happens. Rare cases, but the real thing. Without disheartening any one of you, I will just say thanks to all our panelists for today's, brilliant information given to them, because if we want everything from internet, it is there, yes. But there is a reason why people want to do this one-on-one contact, and where Empowering Science Foundation comes and give this to everyone else. Empowering Science Foundation, if you all like this, please go to the social media page, follow them, and stay tuned, stay passionate about your research. Do your preparations well, okay? You should know the limitations you have and you are going to face in USA. Never ignore the limitations. Knowledge is your key to all the success. And at the end, I will say thank you all for this team of ESF who has made this possible. With this, I'll say that please, if you have more questions, you can write it to us. And then for today, thank you very much to all of you. Hope to see you all soon. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Bye.
All the best,
Thank
guys.
you.
It's just us left. It was lovely sharing the dais with you all. Thank you.
Yeah.
Same here.
Thank
It
you.
was nice to
Thank you.
learn and talk to you all.
Bye.
See
Thank
you.
you so much.